Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi everyone and welcome to episode 80 of Total Retail Talks. In today's episode, Editor-in-Chief Melissa Campanelli interviews Marci Zaroff, founder of Under the Canopy, an eco-friendly brand that has stylish and innovative home products, as well as MetaWear, a manufacturer and certified organic custom screen printed apparel. Listen in as Marci discusses why sustainable products and operations will soon be table stakes for retailers and no longer a differentiator. And now, on to the show.
Thanks so much for being here, Marci. I've been following you on social media, and I know you've written some stuff for Women's Wear Daily on eco fashion, so I'm excited to have you here. So as I gave some information about your background, but I know you wear many hats. So maybe you could just sort of tell the audience about some of the ones we discussed prior, your sort of four main areas.
Sure. So, it's funny when people ask me for that elevator pitch, like, what do I do? I'm like, where do I start? So I've spent the last 27 years driving sustainable products across many different consumer products, from food with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is now considered the world's largest nutrition school. 75,000 people have been certified as health coaches, segueing into beauty, where we co-founded the first Abeta concept salon in New York City, and then saw a missing link in the wellness equation, and I coined the term eco-fashion and founded a brand called Under the Canopy in 1995 that was really the first sustainable fashion and home brand. And from there, I launched 3 years ago a factory in America called MetaWear, which is a turnkey solution for sustainable apparel manufacturing to take the excuse away from people as to it's too daunting and complicated and to navigate the supply chain. And my husband and I founded a company called Beyond Brands, which is a consulting agency that focuses on conscious products. So we infuse across many different categories. We have 6 verticals that look at how do we take you to the next level and become relevant as a company. So those are kind of my key focus.
Wow, keeps you busy, I'm sure.
Never dull moment. So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So it sounds like sustainability is sort of the driving force throughout all of your businesses. So why is it important, do you think, in the industry right now, out in retail and in the textile industry, just in general? It seems such a buzzword, but you've been doing it for so long. So what do you think, why is it important?
Yeah, so, I'm the kid with the lemonade stand when I was growing up. So business, as usual, is not really sustainable, right? And I think in today's world, it's very different than when I started, where people thought I was crazy. When I said the word eco-fashion, they looked at me like, wide-eyed and like, can you smoke it after you wear it? And it was just kind of people didn't get it. But today, the biggest buyer in America of organic food is Costco, right? So it's penetrated mainstream, this consciousness movement. And so, in the fashion industry, people don't realize that fashion is the largest polluter in the world, second to coal. So 10% of the world's carbon impact is coming out of the fashion industry. Wow. 3 trillion gallons of fresh water being used every year in fashion. 20% of the world's freshwater pollution is coming out of the fashion industry. 5% of the world's landfills are filled with textile waste. I mean, I could go on and on and on with the impacts. So when you look at, waste, water, energy, climate change, chemicals, and social justice, I'm sure many of you know of the Bangladesh Rana Plaza tragedy, where 1,133 people lost their lives instantly in a garment factory. To me, it was about being a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. So I think, I don't even think it's about staying ahead anymore. I think it's about not being left behind. I think those companies out there today, and for all of you, if you're not thinking about sustainability as a key strategy, there's a shot that you could be out of the game in the next decade.
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to go to that. My next question is sort of, is there anything that retailers can do to bring it to life in their companies, to bring sustainability to life? I mean, I'm sure that's something you can answer in 2 seconds, but just to kind of give everyone a little taste of something that they could do.
Yeah, I think one of my core philosophies is, 1 + 1 = 11, right? The power of collaboration, that we can be stronger together than apart as a collective that can change the world, right? So as an entrepreneur, I've always said, if I can do what I love, make money, and change the world, sign me up for that, right? And I think what's happened in my career in the last almost 30 years, started when I was 2, I've seen people jump ship out of their typical job paths because they're looking for purpose. And I think everybody today is seeking transparency and authenticity and experience and engagement. And, there's a huge opportunity in this movement. So I think the power of collaboration is really how we're going to get to the end game. And so at retail, I've had the pleasure over the last couple decades of my life working with some of the largest retailers in America to launch sustainable initiatives across different categories. And it's, I think that's where you see the added value is when we can, really join forces and hold hands to, bring scale to sustainability. So it's not just this, small group of people that are screaming out loud.
Eating granola.
Well, my mission many years ago, I used to say if I could just change the alternative to the norm and the norm to the alternative, that would be where I want to go. And we're there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's game on.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit because a lot of our folks, as I mentioned earlier, are very interested in sort of marketing, and I know you obviously marketing's in your blood. So I know that you've done some interesting partnerships, and one of them is actually with Wyndham, which is a hotel that we're in right now. So I thought it might be cool to tell the folks about that. What have you done in terms of that, the collaborations?
Yeah. So with my brand Under the Canopy, the philosophy was always almost this kind of store-in-store, how do we add value, as I mentioned. And Wyndham, which, it's very auspicious that here we are today, we share core values. And when you look at Wyndham as a company, and I've had the pleasure of really getting into the, into the culture and knowing the people who are driving the company, they're people, right? Like you think company, like, oh, it's so daunting, this big concept, but they're people who, like the CEO of Wyndham, grew up on a farm and a ranch, and it's just super passionate about the environment. And so we just, when you come together and you have conversation at a very human level, that you can see how you can connect the dots. And so we do all the amenities through Under the Canopy, the shampoo and conditioner and soap and lotion in the bathrooms for Wyndham in many of their hotels worldwide. And so it's been a really fun process because, again, it's the whole is greater than some of its parts.
Yeah. So let's also talk a little bit about digital marketing. I'm not sure how you want to approach this, but what are some digital marketing wins you've had? I mean, maybe you could talk about social media as part of that. Is we talked about influencer marketing already, but is that a big part of your strategy? And can you just give us some examples?
Yeah, for me, having been in this for so long, the social media, digital media world has been like the greatest, probably single greatest asset from a marketing standpoint for the conscious product sustainability movement, because our biggest challenge was always, how do we tell the story? Stories are great. I could go on and on, one of my first, kind of eye-opening moments was being in Hong Kong and sitting on a beach where somebody said to me that I was sitting with, wow, can you believe how many stars are in the sky tonight? And I looked up and there were like 2 stars. I kind of was like, what? And she's like, oh, because the textile factories were closed today. That's why there's so many stars. And it was like super eye-opening of, when you connect source to story, it's really powerful. So a few of the things that I've done is, I do a lot of public speaking and trying to figure out how do I scale the message and the story of, it's not this or that, it's this and that, it's about no compromise. And so we partnered with Lexus, who has an online Lexus L Studio platform, and I created a film series with Amber Valletta, who's a supermodel, called Thread, Driving Fashion Forward. And we did a 4-part film series where, through a positive lens, we told the stories of transforming the fashion industry, not through dropping bombs on people, but inspiring people and exciting them about the innovations that are in the pipeline. And Lexus it was just such a fit because hybrids are, that's their passion point. And so we, joined forces, and that was a very big digital marketing effort. Another one is, the Environmental Working Group, who is a nonprofit in Washington, D.C., really tries to educate people about the chemicals that are in their products, and especially the ones that are, in the food system and the beauty system and what goes in and on your body. And in fashion, again, they came out and they shot a lot of footage at our factory. We did a whole digital media campaign, and it's just about education. My mission is to educate and inspire while collaborating and innovating, really.
So I'm going to kind of combine some questions here, but we prepared ahead of time. It's not just natural people. Okay, another one of your mantras is made in the USA, and that's a big part of your business too. I don't know how to say this, but like with the convergence of the new administration and,
I'll talk politics, don't worry.
The rising tide of consumers seeking transparency. Let's talk about Made in the USA, the movement. Why is it important? Should retailers be thinking about it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the farm-to-table movement, it's an indication that people are asking the question, where is my food coming from? How's it being made? Who's growing it? What's in it? And recognizing the power of what we're putting, as an extension of ourselves into our bodies. And so, I'm on the board of directors of the Organic Trade Association, which governs all organic products in America. So I have a lot of kind of insight on organic, and I'll share a couple facts that are pretty, compelling, which is that, in today's world, in America, 84% of American consumers are buying organic, at least occasionally. When I started, people were like, it was a foreign, it was like being a Martian if you said the word organic. Or people thought, oh, well, my milk is organic, or my cotton is organic, and didn't really understand it. So being made in America has a couple of huge benefits, even pre-administration shift. One is that, you have that source-to-story connection. You have, more transparency and authenticity in terms of understanding the supply chain. You can connect those dots. You, obviously, from a manufacturing standpoint, as a retailer, as a brand, you have more flexibility, less risk, shorter lead times, lower minimums. So the whole concept of fast fashion, which is one of the biggest contributors of, pollution in the world today, you can have fast fashion without that, right? And that's across all industries, not just through fashion. We have this amazing opportunity right now in connecting food to fiber in organic in the U.S. because we have 12% demand at the consumer level and less than 5% supply because we can't keep up with the demand in America. And it's one of the only industries in America that's grown at double-digit rates. So, going back to with MetaWear and Made in the U.S., my whole vision for bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. was by adding value and embedding sustainability and organic as that value add, so you could tell the story, and we could have sourcing people and production people that come to our factory, and we could have marketing teams that come down and have great storytelling, and that momentum is really starting to build. And that's, when you produce overseas, you don't have that. Marketing teams are not being sent to factories overseas. And in today's world where the internet has changed the game and digital marketing and storytelling is not just about storytelling, but story doing, it's a very big value add.
That's interesting to look at it that way. Okay, so just in terms of switching gears one more time to the future of retail. When we were talking, you talked about some really cool, innovative technologies that you viewed at NRF, and we were actually talking about that, Lucy. And can you talk about some that stood out? You had some really great examples and how they can sort of be tied to retailers, specifically, how they can be used, your perspective.
Yeah, so I was telling Melissa that I spoke at the big conference, the NRF conference recently, and, first of all, to hear how often the terms of authenticity and transparency and engagement and experience and, and source, they're all coming up, and that's really, again, sort of at the root of the sustainability movement. But to now see that at the technology level, we can tell those stories, and I was walking around like a little kid in a candy store, seeing that facial recognition now has the ability to tell someone, hey, this product is fair trade, and if you're a millennial, and and it was made this is what's in it, and and hey, it's organic, and it's from this farm, and here's a shot of the farmer, and make the farmer cool. And the storytelling around this movement is, to me, a catalyst that's going to absolutely propel the movement. And at the end of the day, we're all in this together. I mean, Under the Canopy, my brand that I started 22 years ago, was inspired by the fact that we all live under the canopy of the planet's ecosystem together. Sustainability is no longer a choice, it's an imperative. And I think if you see what's going on out there and you have children, It's a responsibility that we all have to leave the world a better place, or at least as good as we found it.
Let's have a big hand for Marci.
Thanks for listening. For more information, be sure to visit our podcast channel page at www.mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, but please remember to subscribe to our podcast channel page as well. Lastly, don't forget to connect with us on social, on Twitter at MyTotalRetail and on Facebook at facebook.com/MyTotalRetail. Until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.